good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. Hello, happy International Women's Day to all the women out there today. I salute you. I'm sending all the love from the bottom of my heart. I respect you, I love you, and I honor you. Truly, truly honor you. Congratulations to all the women in leadership. Congratulations to all the women who are the role models, our mothers, our sisters, our grandmothers. Wow, what an honor. What an honor to be a woman today in 2021. Well, I have two amazing women, leaders in their own community as well. As usual, they're very special guests to me here. Jules and Nikisha, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Hey, Padma. Thanks for having us.
Happy
Thank you
Women's
very
Day.
much. Always a pleasure. I love you too, energy.
Yes,
Me too.
absolutely.
Happy International Women's Day.
Yes, happy International Women's Day. It is a powerful, actually, I think we celebrated for the entire week, which I think it's deserved a week, not a day, because, we are the root, the womb, and everything of this world, you know? Yes.
Absolutely. Yeah. What about you, Jules?
I don't normally do anything in particular for Women's Day, but it's almost like an extra focus on the importance of Mother Earth, of feminine energy, of everything that resistance of feminine in the past has now come to the forefront now in 2021 even more, right? We're having to put more attention and energy on Earth and moving forward and being leaders and what we want the future to be and the roles that women play in that and feminine energy plays. And that's, for me, that's the most exciting part.
Yes.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I'm just wearing my glasses because I have to.
Oh, nice.
Here.
Yeah, I think for me, for when I think about Women's Day, International Women's Day, I reflect back of on all the women that was in my life. I was fortunate, growing up in the Caribbean, growing up in Jamaica, it's a community that raised a child compared to here in Canada, where most of the time you're on your own and you might get a little help here and there. So for me, I was fortunate to have two grandmother, a great grandmother, and my mother in my life. And, I look back at those days and I reminisce so much, because I see the role that they play. Yes, I had grandparents, but grandfathers, but they mostly did what they need to do. And they didn't really pay much attention to us kids, right? It was the woman that did everything. My grandparents, my mom, they're the one that raised us. They're the one that make sure the household was kept. They were the backbone of everything. So I have like just reminiscing on them. I do that often because they're no longer in my life. And I look at my daughter who mainly have me and aunts, but not so much, my mom is back home in Jamaica. So she doesn't have that rooted ancestors ground. So for me, I try to be it all for her so that she recognizes that, as women, we could accomplish everything and anything that you put your mind to. And don't let anyone tell you that you can't. Those stigma is over. We are whatever it is that we want to be, right? We are the change agent of this world. And I see that in her. I see the fight in her. I see how she is going to be more than I've ever thought to become, because I'm instilling that in her, and she is amazing. She's such an amazing soul. So even just recognize the young woman in her life and the woman that they're becoming, celebrate them and empower them, because later on it is going to be their world. It's no longer going to be our world. So we got to instill those values and those, within them. All that we have fight for, over the year. The fights still go on, but we it's like you're passing on the baton, right? It's a relay, right? So we got to do all that we can to make sure that we keep on rising. We're rising, but we got to keep it going, right? Just keep rising.
Yes. Wow. Yes, I love it. I love it. What about you, Jules? How do you empower? I know you have a daughter at home. How do you empower her?
Well, recently I've been delving deeper into different sexuality issues and talking to other parents, and that empowerment, I think, happens daily. That opportunity, and you mentioned it, Nikisha, it's like we want them to be so powerful and we want them to grow past us. And I remember my mom saying this to me, like, one day you will evolve past me. And that's what I want. Like, I want you to already have those skills that you move past me. And it's interesting because oftentimes when that happens, as a parent, I get frustrated. I'm like, why are you doing this? Right. And meanwhile, it's that thing that I emblazoned, that I wanted her to passionately go after. And maybe it's a jealousy part of me that goes, man, I wish I could do that. Like, ah. So I'm catching myself as far as, focusing attention on raising that future leader in my daughter, of going, ooh, no, this is important. And actually, I know this is important, and I've told her how important this is. And so she believes it, but I don't necessarily have the embodied experience of believing it, but she does. And recognizing that through my mother as well, knowing that the things that she told me that she knew were of great importance, that were so very empowering, are also challenging for her to see come alive in me, because they're important and she knew their importance, but she wasn't able to embody them. So having that, like, that inherited experience of now seeing it in my parenting and my child, I do my very best to notice that, whoa, this is exactly what I told her that she had the capacity to do, and she's following her heart. And man, is it ever a challenge for me. And I need to put her, honoring her and respecting her, in the forefront so I can look at my own stuff later. So that's my, like, challenging, like, raising a female leader is challenging. And I see it in my reality, my mom and my aunt and my cousins, and like women, strong women. That is not easy to lead and be a part of strong women, because strong women are strong and they rebel strong, and we want them to, right? Yeah, but it's challenging.
Mm-hmm. No, I love it. And the fact that, you are the role model of your daughter, and you seeing the evolvement within her, things that you never had the opportunity.
Oh, yes.
Okay? And
Yes.
I go back to even just myself growing up. My mother never had the education that I had, and my daughter, she's having an education that I never had, opportunity, right? So we are evolving as women. And I know growing up, education, especially where I came from, education was the last thing for girls. It was just, you just finished, not even middle school, maybe if you're lucky, grade 3, I would say. Grade 3, grade 4, get your basics, and that's it. And you stay home and clean and cook, and by the age of maybe 12, 13, you're married off. And that's what was the norm. My mom was more married, maybe she was, I think, 14, 15, right? And that was the cultural norm there, right? So growing up now, seeing my mother, the way she raised us, wanting to have her daughters get the education, right? Put the boys even aside. There's two, myself and my sister, and 3 boys. And seeing my mother really struggling, the backbone, of our society are the mothers. And struggling and doing different things, the entrepreneurial skills, right? To put not only food on the table, but to pay for our education. So I saw that because she wanted us to get something that she never had. She wanted to give us an opportunity that she never had. And interestingly enough, when you talk about leadership, I want to just bring in, because that's the theme for 2021, International Women's Day. So I had to look it up and see, and what I learned was just phenomenal. I'm just going to share this quickly with you, if you don't mind. So
I had no idea.
Yeah, so apparently every year they do have a theme. And this year, 2021, and you talked about leadership. Wow. It says, and I quote, I went on to the website, UN Women website, and it says, women in leadership is the theme for 2021. Women in leadership, achieving an equal future in the COVID-19 world. So before we even had, challenges. So imagine even in the midst of the pandemic, the challenges that the women face. I thought that was powerful. And they continued talking about, they said, the theme, they aligned with something else as well. And they aligned it with the priority theme of the 65th session of the Commission on the women, on women. And I quote, women's full and effective participation in decision-making in public life, as well as elimination of violence for achieving gender equality and the empowerment of women and girls. Yes. And the flagship.
Shivers.
Yes, and it continues on, the flagship, the Generation Equality Campaign. It calls out for women the right for decision-making, which majority of women don't have that. In all areas of their life. Equal pay, we know that to be true. Equal sharing of unpaid care, absolutely, and domestic work.
Yes.
It goes on and talks about an end of all forms of violence against women and girls, and the healthcare services that respond to their needs. Oh, amazing.
Powerful, yes.
It's just amazing. It's just powerful. And I know each one of us has had their own struggles, maybe in one area of that, just what I just mentioned, right? And it affects us differently, right? Education, it could be gender gap, equity, pay, domestic violence. And I know some of us have experienced, if not one or two or three. What do you have to say about that?
I know for me, like my daughter, I have 3 boys and a husband, and then I have my youngest she's 8 and she's a girl. So I'm raising a girl, a princess in a man's world. And for me, I find that I have to ensure that she could stand her ground, because there's the masculinity, the dominant is within my house. I have two of my boys are in their 20s, plus my husband. So I have to make sure that she's treated equally. Whatever is expected of the boys is expected of her, right? And so that she's not treated differently. And one of the things that I instill in her is like, you have your voice, use your voice. Don't let anyone silence you, period. Because that is one thing for us within our culture. We were silent. You got to keep secret. You don't talk about certain things, and that's why abuse is so like, it is so much within our culture, because we keep it all in. And that's why mental illness it's a thing within the Black culture, because everything is within us. So we have all this toxicity of our past that we hold on to, because we were taught it was shameful. We were taught that you will bring down your family, they're going to disown you. Like, I've been disowned in my family as a teenager just because I stand up for myself, where people are like, well, I don't want anything to do with you because you stand up to your dad, and that is a thing. And I had to go through that. I practically went through most of my young adult, teenage life and adult life without any family support, because I stand up to abuse, right? And so when I look at my daughter, I see an incident the other day where she talks to her friends, and her brother is like, you got to be silent, you're too loud, use your indoor voice. I'm like, we're in the midst of a pandemic, she's indoor, what do you mean she needs to use her indoor voice? So when does she get to use her outdoor voice? No one silenced her. She's going to use her voice any which way she wants. And I had to tell her, don't let anybody tell you anything is a secret. The minute someone says it's a secret, it's time for you to talk. Your voice is your power. I'd rather people say you talk too much, so they will be very careful, and they'll be afraid of you before they even try to abuse you, because you're going to talk. So even teaching my daughter to have that voice that we never had is so important for leadership. And I'm so happy that she's in this male dominant home, because later on she will be able to conquer all odds, because she's fighting against gravity, and I see where I have to stand up for her a lot, because otherwise these boys are going to bully her, not really bully her, but boss her around because she's a girl, because there's certain expectation in a man's DNA that a woman should be this and a woman should be that. It's in the DNA. And I'm here where I'm like, no, we are, even with my husband, I'm your equal. Whatever is expected of you is expected of me, and he grew up with women that serve men, like all his, you go around his grandparents and his aunt, you see how they serve. And I'm like, no. And that's what I grew up with too, where my mom and my grandmother, they served their husband, like everything was and given, and nobody served them, right? And I'm like, no, we're equal. So I have to fight against that too, as a woman, because my husband grew up with this culture. I was grew up with this culture as well, but I'm like, no, that will not be me. I'm your equal. I'm expected to provide just like you. So everything in this house, we're equal, right? And growing my daughter in that environment where she could fight against this, this gender fight that we're going through daily, and hopefully in the future, it will break, and where man will look at us as their equal and society will look at us as their equal, because without woman, there's no man. So we are your equal, right?
Mhm. Wow. Jules?
Well, how do I follow that easily? Not that I'm into ease, but you know what I mean. The what you mentioned there, Nikisha, is something that really caught my attention. So I'm glad you went first. was that I was watching a show with my daughter the other day, with my daughter and my son, but it was rated PG, I think like 14 maybe. And so I thought, okay, we'll watch it. It's a mini series. My daughter had actually already watched a couple, and she's 11. And she said, no, it's really good. You'll like it. And it was called Ginny and Georgia, or Georgia and Ginny. It's on Netflix. And watching this very first episode of this show, it was really interesting how the dynamics of this family were brought to the forefront, obviously, for all the viewers. Now, I'll take it back a little bit, Nikisha, when you were talking about how we've inherited from the cultures ahead of us, your husband's family, right? Your family, we've all seen this work a certain way. Mm-hmm. And we could be the first generation to rebel against it. We might be the second generation to rebel against it, but we're probably not far from that, because there haven't been that many generations that have been able to rebel or to kind of to inherit a new pattern, right? So our kids are inheriting a new pattern that isn't about leadership or power over. It's about power with and power to. Exactly. And that experience of giving power in a whole new way is like you said, Fadwa, it's evolution. But because it's evolution, because it's so different, it is not easy, and there's no familiar programming to really see to notice it differently. So in this show, I'm watching this woman who had her first daughter when she was 15. So now she's 30. So this is the mom in the TV reality. And the daughter's 15. So the same age that she was when she first had kids, right? So the mom is still a kid, working on her own stuff. The daughter is figuring out her own stuff. And they're kind of, because they're similar in maturity levels, they're kind of at the same age, raising also this young boy who is maybe like 10 years old, maybe 9 or 10 years old. And in this dynamic, the power struggle of power over is endlessly at work, where there's a man and he's trying to grab power and trying to take over. And in this situation, Georgia, the mom, she has figured out how to use her female power to take power over and attack as well. And I was like, wow, I got to talk to my daughter about this, which is really, really helpful, because we actually had something we could look at from the outside together that wasn't personal. The great thing about TV shows. And I said, it's interesting how she was like, taking her power, but the power was still power over, right? It wasn't power to and power with. It's like we're trying to get our kids to have power, but it's the same model of power they've always seen that men take. So it's like a masculine power. You take power over, then there's a power struggle, because of course everybody's trying to use the same power.
Yes.
right?
Yes.
Because it's a power over, right? So
Mhm.
so I think that for International Women's Day and for attaining all of those amazing huge visions of what we want to happen in the world, we have to take that next level of, instead of power over, which means that men and women are always fighting for power, masculine, feminine energies are fighting. It has to be that we're empowering each other, that we're recognizing, wow, this is power in one way. This is the only way that we know, and this is the power we keep perpetuating, is power. I have power over you. No, you have power over me. No, I have power. You have power. We're fighting versus actually saying, hey, I can work with you and we can have power together, and I can acknowledge, whether you're male or female, that you are really helpful in this teamwork that we can play together. And if you can equally value and respect me, then we can create something amazing. And then the next generation can see that as a potential for what a power system can look like, instead of the power over that is just so innately ingrained in all of the generations before us that it's hard not to fall into it. I get it. Yeah.
No, that's really good. Just the way you explained, actually, both of you. And just to go back to the theme, leadership, you cannot be a leader when you are overpowering, right? You cannot be a leader when you're overpowering, because that's dictatorship. And we know what that looks like in our own homes, because some of us have grown, with that kind of life or relationship, within communicating. What I like about this year's theme is that women in leadership, this is something that personally we never grew up with, right? We were taught how to be leaders in our home as a wife, cooking, cleaning, and that's as far as, that's your cap. That's as far as, that's your limit. That's as far as you can. That's your capacity, basically, is cook, clean, and serve your husband, right? But today, what I love about this theme is that women, we don't have to be limited. We don't have to be just limited to being just a princess or a queen. No. And I feel actually even that is limiting. We need to be just saying, you're limitless. You are limitless. You have no capacity. We just need to break off that glass ceiling that we've been told that, you have to go past, but just go past that glass ceiling and know that each one of us has no limitations to what we can achieve. And the only leaders that we can become tomorrow, or even our girls can become, it starts within ourselves, the mothers, the sisters, entrepreneurs, supporting one another. And I believe that's one of the things that actually is also a disease within our own community or within the women circle, is the fact that we, instead of helping each other, like you said, the power of within, or instead of push and pull, we should be actually coming in together as women and empowering one another, because there's so much power in that. But what I find these days is that we pull each other. We pull
Competition.
Yes, competition. We pull each other back. We stamp. We want to go first, right? There's the ego, there's the envy, the jealousy, and oh, she did it, I'm going to do it, right? The competition that you talked about. And I truly believe that if we don't do something about this today, if we don't do something about changing how we view ourselves as women, and that women have the power and capacity to empower each other and support one another. You're up maybe a 10 level. Maybe there's somebody who's on a 7 level, pull them up. Maybe you're on the second level of whatever you're doing, and that's where your limit is at that moment. Pull somebody who is behind you, so you can elevate one another and get to the next step. So women in leadership, I love the theme this year. What does that mean to you in your professional setting, for yourself, and maybe how you can raise the future leaders, like you always say, Jules?
I would say that what you said there was so powerful, in the fact that the thing that often keeps us from actually working together, from having that power is that we're constantly comparing ourselves to others. And the comparison, the jealousy, the ego, like you said, the resentment, that stuff stops us from from actually like being able to work together as a community, to trust one another, to be able to collaborate, to make amazing things happen. And we become insular. And the only way that we can access that shift is within ourselves. The only way we can notice that jealousy and that like sense of competition and comparing ourselves to others, that has to happen inside of us. So when it comes to my work and working with people, it'll often come, and I'm sure that you guys can relate to this because it happens to me as well too, where something will come up and I'll say, oh, it was because of that situation or that person. And if they hadn't have said that, then can you believe that they did that? Mm-hmm. Right? It's all of the stuff outside of ourselves that we think, oh, like it's because of them that I'm feeling this way. And we would all tell our kids, no, nobody else can make us feel anyway, but we still hold that narrative sometimes externally, but often internally. And my work and my role, my servitude in my world is to bring people's attention into their own story, to actually look at where that's interrupting with what is really important to them. And we just don't often look inside of ourselves. We spend so much time looking outward, comparing ourselves, judging ourselves, focusing on some goal, instead of actually just being present to listen, because it's all in here. So when it comes to my profession and my practice, bringing people back into themselves is so powerful. I witness the transformational experiences people have daily and how it helps them to be better leaders in their world and therefore in their workplace as parents. Yeah. That is the most powerful part. And it really is accessible to us always. But definitely, I completely understand it's not the easiest thing to get to, but it is always here.
Mm-hmm. Very powerful. I love that.
Any last words? I know
for me, honestly, as an entrepreneur, I remember when I took that bold step to quit my 9 to 5, and I am a spontaneous person and I'm a risk taker. And so when I did that and transitioned, like just jump in and just started my own organization, I see how others were inspired by that. And I see how that taking that leap, taking that step, have others think about themselves like, yeah, I truly desire this, but I didn't know it was possible. So I see that possibility in others. And that's why I started another organization where I help women who were working 9 to 5 and just want that extra encouragement or someone that say, hey, I got you, you could do this, you could start your own business, because there's that anxiety, like, what am I doing? I don't know. Like I really see where women will come to me and then they'll start the process and then they're freeze, like, who am I to do this? And and I'm happy that I have that mental health training where I could help them through those blockages, where it's not about you can't. It's like, let's work through what's going on in you, why you think that you can't, and where did that come from? And and a lot of time it's either from your childhood or other people just telling you that you can't, you're not worthy, you can't do anything good, and believing those lies that other people instill in you, and helping them to recognize that this is not your truth. This is somebody else's story about you. This is somebody else's story about themselves. And they plant that seed in you, and then you believe it, because anything you want, you could do that. So I'm happy that I'm in that position, that leadership position, where I could help women to find the courage to go after their dream, whatever that dream is, and I give thanks that I am strong enough to stand up in my own, and I'm strong enough to lead others to stand up in their own. And that's that's the change agent that we need, where we help each other in whatever capacity or in whatever area that we need help. And knowing that, okay, I might could help you in this area, but there's other area that I'm not able to help you. So build that community where I'm able to say, okay, here is somebody, here's a resource for you. So I'm not saying, no, I can't help you, but there's resource, and there's always resource. So we have to make sure that our network is very, very powerful as well, so that we could work together to be that change agent that this world needs.
Yes. Wonderful.
Yes.
Wow. Yes.
I'm completely on board. That sounds amazing.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And we do have that ability. We do have that capacity within ourselves to be the change makers of this world. And, just to empower each other and inspire one another and pull each other up instead of pushing them against the wall. This has been amazing. I wish we had more time to go over this, but I know that every woman today, every girl, child, and every woman in all the parts of the world today, that they are stronger than they think. And you are all stronger than you think. All the girls and women who are watching this video today, I want you to know that you already are courageous. You have that within you. You are courageous, you're brave, you're smart enough, you're good enough, you're worthy. You are worthy of stepping into yourself and into your life and actually look at the light that you're standing upon, and that's facing you, and that's around you.
Yes.
So just walk with confidence. Even if you don't know what you're doing, just keep going, just keep moving, because you don't have to have all the answers in the world, but just take one step after another. And each step will bring you closer to your inner self. And that is when you discover who you are and what your purpose is. And
Yes.
that is when you're most powerful to empower others as well. Well, ladies, it was, as always, I'm just honored to have you both, as always. And like our message, what do we say? We aspire to
Inspire.
We all
Thank
aspire
you.
to inspire. And with the theme of leadership, women in leadership, I honor both of you as well and salute you both for the work that you do in the community as mothers, as wives, as sisters, as friends. And I'm honored to be in your circle. So thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Equally honored.
I appreciate both of you so much.
Yes, you guys too. It's so awesome.
Wonderful. Well, like always, we will be back. And to all of you, all the ladies, I salute you and honor you. Aspire to inspire is what we always end up with our message. Take care, stay well and safe. Till then, bye-bye.
Bye, guys. Thank you.